The Mockery, the Galactic Commerce Station, orbited lazily around a dying star, its massive rings spinning with the weight of 1,000 civilizations' representatives. Inside the Grand Assembly Hall, laughter echoed through crystalline walls. The source of amusement was a holographic display showing Earth's newest addition to their stellar. Navy. Ambassador Ziktar of the Kressar Empire couldn't contain his mirth, his forearms slapping the obsidian table before him. The human vessels looked like children's toys compared to the mighty dreadnoughts of the established powers. Their largest ship, what humans proudly called a battlecruiser, was barely the size of a Krexar patrol vessel. The assembled delegates from various star systems joined in the mockery, their varied forms of laughter creating a symphony of derision. "Look at these primitive constructs," Zektar announced, his voice carrying across the chamber. "The humans build ships from steel and titanium, while we forge ours from quantum-locked neutronium. They use fusion reactors, while we harness the power of captive singularities. It's almost endearing how they believe they belong among the stars." The Vorthan delegate, a being of pure energy contained within a mechanical shell, pulsed with amusement. "Perhaps we should place their ships in museums as examples of primitive technology. Future generations would find them educational." Only one figure remained silent during this display. Ambassador Marcus Webb sat perfectly still, his weathered face betraying no emotion. He was Earth's sole representative in this gathering of giants, and he had heard such mockery before. His fingers tapped a rhythmic pattern on his datapad, sending an encrypted message back to Earth Command. 3 star systems away, Captain Sarah Chun stood on the bridge of the UE's Defiance, reading Webb's transmission. Her jaw tightened as she processed the information. The Krexar Empire had just issued an ultimatum to Earth: surrender their colony worlds in the Epsilon sector or face complete annihilation. The deadline was 72 hours. Captain, her first officer, Commander, James Park, approached with a concerned expression. "Fleet Command has authorized Protocol 7. Sarah's eyes widened slightly. Protocol 7 was something spoken about only in whispers among the highest ranks of Earth's military. It meant the deployment of humanity's most closely guarded secret, a project 20 years in the making. "Are they certain?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. Admiral Morrison confirmed it personally. "The Leviathan is ready." The Leviathan. Even its name was known to less than 100 people in all of human space. While Earth had shown the galaxy their conventional fleet, they had been building something else entirely in the shadow of Neptune's moon Triton. It was a ship that defied conventional understanding, born from humanity's greatest minds and their refusal to accept the limitations others placed upon them. Sarah turned to her crew. "Set course for the Epsilon sector. Maximum burn." The Krexar fleet was already in position when the human ships arrived. 400 vessels, each one a masterpiece of advanced engineering, formed a wall of death between Earth's colonies and the void. At their center was the flagship Dominator, a vessel so large it had its own gravity well. Admiral Craxter stood on his command deck, watching the pitiful human fleet arrange itself in what they probably considered a battle formation. 30 ships against 400. It would be a massacre, over in minutes. "Pathetic," he muttered to his tactical officer. "Open a channel to their lead ship." Sarah's face appeared on his view screen, her expression calm, despite facing certain death. "Captain Chun," Craxter began, his mandibles clicking with amusement, "you have one opportunity to surrender. Power down your weapons, and I promise your deaths will be swift." "Admiral Craxter," Sarah replied, her voice steady. "Humanity has a saying. It's not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. You're about to learn what that means." The Admiral's laughter boomed across the bridge. "Your primitive sayings won't save you, human. You have 1 minute to surrender." Sarah cut the transmission and turned to her communications officer. Send the activation code. In the darkness beyond Neptune, something stirred. A section of space that had appeared empty suddenly rippled like water. The Leviathan's stealth systems disengaged, revealing a ship that defied logic. It wasn't larger than the Krexar vessels, but it was different in ways that made observers uncomfortable. Its hull seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, constructed from a material that human scientists had discovered by accident while experimenting with dark matter interactions. The ship didn't have visible weapons ports or engine nacelles. Instead, its smooth, almost organic surface pulsed with an inner light that seemed wrong somehow, as if it existed in more dimensions than the standard 3. Captain Elena Vasquez stood at the center of the Leviathan's bridge, though stood was perhaps inaccurate. The ship's interior operated on principles that bent spacetime, allowing the crew to exist in multiple positions simultaneously when needed. She felt the ship's consciousness, for lack of a better word, merge with her own. The Leviathan wasn't just built by humans. It was grown, cultivated from a fusion of technology and something else, something that Earth scientists had found buried deep beneath Antarctica's ice. Jump coordinates locked in, her navigator announced, though the words seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Execute, Elena commanded. The Leviathan didn't travel through space in any conventional sense. Instead, it folded reality around itself, stepping from one point to another like walking through a door. The massive energy signature of its arrival was detected by every sensor in the Epsilon sector, but by then it was too late. Back at the confrontation, Admiral Crackster was preparing to give the order to fire when his sensor officer's scream of alarm stopped him cold. Admiral, massive energy spike detected. Something is. It's impossible. What is impossible? Crackster demanded. A ship, sir, but the readings. It's showing up on our sensors as being in 12 different locations simultaneously. The tactical display flickered and reformed, showing a new contact that seemed to phase in and out of existence. Each time it solidified, it was closer to the Krexar fleet. All ships red alert. Crackster barked, but his words were drowned out by a sound that shouldn't have been possible in the vacuum of space. It was like reality itself was screaming. The Leviathan materialized in the center of the Krexar formation, its presence causing nearby ships' instruments to go haywire. Smaller vessels found their engines failing as the space around them became unstable. The human dreadnought's hull began to glow with an otherworldly light. Fire everything, Crackster commanded, and 400 ships unleashed hell. Plasma beams, antimatter torpedoes, and gravitic pulses converged on the Leviathan from all directions. It should have been instantly vaporized. Instead, something extraordinary happened. The attacks seemed to slow as they approached the human ship, then stopped entirely, frozen in a sphere of suspended destruction around the vessel. Elena Vasquez smiled grimly. Return to sender. The Leviathan pulsed once, and every attack that had been fired at it reversed direction at twice its original speed. The Krexar fleet's own weapons tore through their shields and hulls. Ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light, their death throes illuminating the darkness of space. But that was just the beginning. The Leviathan's true weapons began to deploy. Tendrils of pure dark energy extended from its hull, reaching out like the tentacles of some cosmic horror. Whatever they touched simply ceased to exist, not destroyed, but erased from reality itself. Krexar dreadnoughts, pride of their fleet, were deleted from existence as easily as deleting a file from a computer. Admiral Crackster watched in horror as his fleet, the mightiest armada in 3 sectors, was being systematically annihilated by a single human ship. His tactical officer was sobbing, repeatedly saying, "This isn't possible," over and over. "All ships retreat!" Crackster screamed, but it was far too late. The Leviathan began to spin, creating a vortex in space-time itself. Krexar ships were pulled in, crushed by gravitational forces that shouldn't exist. Their matter compressed into singularities that then exploded outward in cascades of exotic particles in less than 10 minutes. The entire Krexar fleet was gone. 400 ships reduced to an expanding cloud of elementary particles. Only the flagship Dominator remained, held in place by the Leviathan's gravitational grip. Asterisk. The reckoning Elena Vasquez opened a channel to the Dominator. Admiral Craxter appeared on her screen, his face a mask of terror and disbelief. "This is impossible," he whispered. "What are you?" "We're humans," Elena replied simply. "And you made a fatal mistake. You judged us by the technology we chose to show you, not by what we're capable of creating when pushed. The Galactic Council will hear of this atrocity." Craxter sputtered. "Oh, they're watching," Elena said, gesturing to her communications officer. "We're broadcasting this entire engagement on every frequency, to every inhabited system in the galaxy." Indeed, across thousands of worlds, beings watched in stunned silence as humanity's true power was revealed. The same species they had mocked mere hours ago had just eliminated one of the galaxy's most powerful fleets with a single ship. Back on the Galactic Commerce Station, the assembly hall was deathly quiet. Ambassador Webb stood slowly, his calm demeanor unchanged. "Fellow delegates," he began, his voice carrying in the silence, "humanity came to the stars seeking friendship and trade. We showed you our merchant vessels and defensive fleet because that's what peaceful neighbors do. We didn't show you what we built in the dark, in preparation for the day when someone would mistake our desire for peace as weakness." He paused, looking directly at the Vorthan delegate who had suggested putting human ships in museums. "The Leviathan is not our only such vessel. We have 12 more, waiting in the shadows between stars. We call them our Dark Fleet, and they represent humanity's response to those who would threaten our existence." Zektar, who had been the loudest in mocking humanity, couldn't speak. His forearms trembled as he processed what he had witnessed. Webb continued, "The technology you just witnessed was developed by humans for humans. We didn't steal it. We didn't find it in some ancient ruins. We created it because that's what humans do. We adapt, we overcome, and we survive." The holographic display showed the aftermath of the battle. Where the Krexar fleet had been, only the Dominator remained, held like a toy in the Leviathan's gravitational grip. "Captain Vasquez," Webb said, opening a channel to the Leviathan, "what is the status of the surviving vessel?" Elena's face appeared on the screen. "Admiral Craxter and his crew are unharmed, Ambassador. We're prepared to release them with a message." "Proceed." The Leviathan released its grip on the Dominator, but not before Elena delivered her message directly to Craxter. "Admiral, you will return to your empire and deliver this message. Humanity extends its hand in friendship to all who would take it. But those who raise weapons against us will discover that we are not the primitive species you believed us to be. We are the children of Earth, born from a world that tried to kill us every day for millions of years. We survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters that would have ended other species. We didn't reach the stars by being weak." She paused, allowing her words to sink in. "Tell your emperor that we have no desire for conquest. The colonies you demanded will remain human. Any further aggression against humanity or our allies will be met with the full deployment of the Dark Fleet. And Admiral, what you witnessed today was the Leviathan operating at 30% capacity. Pray you never see what it can do when fully unleashed." The transmission ended, and the Dominator limped away, its faster-than-light drives barely functional. The journey back to Krexar space would take months, plenty of time for Admiral Craxter to contemplate what he had witnessed. On Earth, The news of the victory spread like wildfire. Humanity had stood up to one of the galaxy's bullies and won. Decisively. But more importantly, they had revealed that Earth's children were not to be underestimated. President Martinez addressed the United Earth Parliament. Her voice broadcast to every human colony and settlement. Today, we showed the galaxy that humanity will not bow to threats. We revealed a fraction of our true capabilities, not to inspire fear, but to demand respect. For too long, older civilizations have looked down upon us, seeing us as newcomers. To be exploited or conquered, that perception ends now. The response from the galaxy was swift and dramatic. Within hours, 17 different species requested formal diplomatic relations with Earth. Trade agreements that had been stalled for years were suddenly approved. The Vorthan delegate personally apologized to Ambassador Webb, offering to share advanced energy technology as a gesture of goodwill. But perhaps the most significant response came from an unexpected source. The ancients, a species so old that most considered them myth, sent their first communication in over 1,000 years. Humanity, the message read, you have passed the test. When we seeded your world with life eons ago, we wondered if you would survive to reach the stars. Not only have you survived, but you have thrived. You have shown wisdom in revealing your strength only when necessary. The galaxy needs shepherds, not conquerors. We believe you may be ready for that responsibility. Captain Sarah Chun stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching as human colonies in the Epsilon sector celebrated their freedom. Her first officer approached with a smile. Captain, we're receiving gratitude messages from every colony. They're calling you heroes. Sarah shook her head. We're not heroes, James. We're just humans who refuse to be pushed around. She looked out at the stars, thinking about how much had changed in a single day. Humanity had gone from being mocked to being feared and respected. It wasn't the path they had chosen, but it was the one forced upon them. The Leviathan remained on patrol, a silent guardian in the darkness. Elena Vasquez and her crew maintained their vigil, knowing that showing strength once wasn't enough. There would always be those who would test humanity's resolve. In the weeks that followed, the story of the battle spread throughout the galaxy, growing with each telling. Some species spoke of it in hushed whispers, fearful of angering the humans. Others saw it as an inspiration, proof that newer civilizations could stand against the established powers. The Krexar Empire formally apologized and signed a non-aggression pact with Earth. Admiral Craxter resigned his commission, spending his remaining years teaching at the Krexar War College, where his primary lesson was simple: never underestimate an opponent based on appearances alone. Ambassador Webb remained at the Galactic Commerce Station, but now when he entered the assembly hall, delegates stood in respect. The seat assigned to Earth was moved from the outer ring of minor species to the inner circle of major powers. During one session, the Altarian delegate asked Webb about the Dark Fleet's origins. How did your species develop such technology so quickly? You've only been spacefaring for 2 centuries. Webb smiled. Humans have a unique trait, Ambassador. We don't accept impossibilities. When everyone told us faster-than-light travel was impossible, we found a way. When we were told that dark matter couldn't be harnessed, we figured it out. And when the galaxy told us we were too primitive to defend ourselves, we built the Dark Fleet. He paused, choosing his words carefully. But more than our technology, our strength comes from our unity. When humanity is threatened, we stand together. Our differences, which once divided us on Earth, became our strength among the stars. Every human culture, every perspective, every wild idea contributed to what we've become. The Leviathan's technology gradually became the stuff of legend. Scientists from across the galaxy requested access to study it, but humanity politely declined. Some secrets were worth keeping, especially when they ensured the survival of the species. Elena Vasquez was promoted to admiral and given command of the entire Dark Fleet. In a private ceremony, President Martinez presented her with Earth's highest military honor. Admiral Vasquez, you didn't just win a battle. You secured humanity's future among the stars. Elena accepted the honor with humility. Madam President, I was just the one holding the sword. It was humanity's determination that forged it. 6 months after the battle, something unprecedented happened. The Galactic Council voted unanimously to offer humanity a permanent seat on the Security Committee, a position previously held only by civilizations that had been spacefaring for over 1,000 years. Ambassador Webb stood before the assembly to accept the position, his words broadcast across the galaxy. Humanity accepts this responsibility with gratitude and humility. We pledge to use our position, not for dominance, but for the protection of all peaceful species. We've learned that true strength isn't in the weapons you wield, but in knowing when not to use them. The Dark Fleet will remain in the shadows, a deterrent to those who would prey upon the weak. But our merchant ships, our explorers, our diplomats, they will continue to be the face of humanity. We came to the stars seeking, friends, and that hasn't changed. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humans might build small ships and prefer peace, but when threatened, they were capable of unleashing forces that defied comprehension. The laughter had stopped, replaced by respect and a healthy dose of caution. As the Leviathan patrolled the dark spaces between stars, its crew remained vigilant. They knew that peace was not a permanent state, but something that had to be actively maintained. And they were ready for whatever challenges the galaxy might throw at humanity next. The story of the battle became required study at military academies across the galaxy, not just for its tactical lessons, but for its strategic implications. It proved that technological superiority wasn't just about having the biggest ships or the most powerful weapons. It was about innovation, determination, and the willingness to think beyond conventional limitations. Human colonies flourished under the protection of the Dark Fleet. Trade routes that had been too dangerous before were now safe passages. Species that had been bullied by larger powers sought alliances with Earth. Humanity had become, almost overnight, a stabilizing force in a galaxy that had grown used to might making right. But perhaps the most important change was in humanity itself. The revelation of the Dark Fleet had united Earth's people like never before. The knowledge that they had stood up to a galactic empire, and one gave them a confidence that transcended old divisions. As Captain Sarah Chun wrote in her personal log, "We didn't come to the stars to conquer or dominate. We came to explore, to learn, to grow. Today, we showed the galaxy that we will defend that right with everything we have." They laughed at our small ships, not understanding that humans have always been giants in spirit. Now they know better. The stars continued to burn in the endless night, witness to humanity's transformation from mocked newcomers to respected powers. And somewhere in the darkness between those stars, the Dark Fleet waited, silent guardians ensuring that humanity's journey among the stars would continue. The galaxy would never laugh at human ships again. Asterisk.